What is up, everyone? I'm here to talk about one of the most unbelievable fighters we've ever seen, Oleksandr Usyk. The big question on everyone's mind is, who is going to stop this guy? Who can stand up to this absolute force of nature? The boxing world is buzzing, and some of the biggest names in the sport are weighing in on what makes him so special. Let's start with what people are calling him now, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. We got names like Lennox Lewis, Larry Holmes, and Evander Holyfield, who have long been at the top of that list. But after Usyk's performances, especially against the biggest and best of this era, he has to be included in that elite group. His journey from a cruiserweight to a heavyweight wasn't just successful, it was historic. He didn't just hold his own in a division full of giants, he outclassed them. Usyk's skills, ring IQ, and consistency against top-tier opponents make him a truly complete fighter. He's not just winning fights. He's completely rewriting the rules of the heavyweight division. Speaking of that, let's talk about the all-time greats. When you start ranking the best heavyweights in history, where does Usyk fit in? Well, a lot of analysts now believe he has to be in the top 5, if not the top 3. Think about it. Names like Muhammad Ali, Lennox Lewis, and then, right there with him, Oleksandr Usyk. He's even being placed ahead of a legend like Larry Holmes by some. That's how dominant his performances have been. His resume speaks for itself. He's beaten just about every major heavyweight contender, and in many cases, he's done it not once, but twice. He's become undisputed across multiple divisions with a kind of grace, dominance, and discipline that we haven't seen in a very long time. So, who's left for him to fight? There's a growing buzz that Joseph Parker could be next in line. But for a lot of people, that's more a formality than a real challenge. I mean, come on. Is Parker a true test for Usyk at this point? Probably not. Even boxing analyst Ada Oladipo said he'd rather see Derek Chisora fight Usyk again. Not because he thinks Chisora would win, but because of the grit and entertainment value he brings. Chisora knows how to sell a fight and turn it into a spectacle, which is good for the sport. But let's be real, Usyk is on a completely different level than both Parker and Chisora. He stands alone at the top. The only fight that might get people really excited is if Tyson Fury decided to come out of retirement for a trilogy fight. But who knows if that's even a possibility at this point. Fabio Wardley, a rising name in the boxing world, had some really strong advice for anyone who has to get in the ring with Usyk. He said that standard techniques just aren't going to cut it. Usyk's defense and movement are just too refined for simple jabs and predictable combinations. Wardley believes a fighter has to be flexible, stubborn, and throw unorthodox combinations, mixing right hooks, left crosses, and feints just to disrupt Usyk's rhythm. But he also admitted that pulling that off under pressure is a different story. In the ring, many fighters just end up chasing shadows while Usyk calmly controls the pace and space. He said you have to have a level of belief, a kind of stubbornness, to find a way to win. You have to be willing to extend the alphabet past the letter Z, to find a plan that works, because your normal game plan will likely fail. Joe Rogan has talked about Usyk a lot, and he's called him the greatest heavyweight of all time. He said that Usyk's movement is so different, and that he's always on the attack. He compared him to a giant Lomachenko. And for good reason. They were both trained by the same guy, Lomachenko's father. That footwork, that constant movement, that endless pressure, it's all part of the same philosophy. Rogan pointed out that Usyk is a smaller guy fighting giants. He's about 220 to 230 pounds, which is a lot, but he's fighting guys that are 60 pounds heavier. And yet, he dominates them. It's not about brute force. It's about intelligence and movement. Rogan says that Usyk's ability to make elite fighters look ordinary is what proves he belongs at the very top. One of the most telling insights about Usyk's fighting style comes from the people who have actually fought him. Tony Bellew, who once got in the ring with him, gave a brutally honest account of what it felt like. He said that for the first 6 rounds, he actually felt like he was outboxing Usyk. But by the 7th, he was just completely exhausted. Usyk hadn't landed anything especially devastating. It was just the constant movement and pressure that wore him down. According to Bellew, that's Usyk's secret weapon. He doesn't go for a quick knockout. He slowly drains you until you're too exhausted to defend yourself. Joe Rogan also talked about Anthony Joshua's post-fight comments after facing Usyk. Joshua reportedly said that it was the most exhausting bout of his career, not because of power punches, but because Usyk never stops moving. There are no pauses, no breathers, no time to reset. That constant motion puts a strain on a fighter's legs, lungs, and mind. It becomes a war of attrition, and by the time opponents realize it, they're already behind on the scorecards and running on empty. Rogan emphasized that this is what makes Usyk so dangerous. He forces a high pace while never seeming to tire himself. Even former heavyweight champion Shannon Briggs gave a surprising take, saying that if Usyk fought a prime Evander Holyfield, he believes Usyk would win. Briggs said that Usyk has evolved past being just a technical fighter. His game now revolves around extraordinary conditioning. He said that Usyk used to rely on his footwork and angles, but now he grinds down opponents through relentless pressure and endurance. Briggs said that even if you're a skillful fighter, you can only be skillful for so long. If your opponent has that pressure and you can't stop it, you're going to lose. He said that in the 12th round, Usyk is just as strong as he was in the first, and no one else has been able to do that in the history of boxing. Boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. admitted he was caught off guard by just how dominant Usyk has been. He said that Daniel Dubois's techniques were too basic to overcome someone of Usyk's caliber. He did concede that a bigger heavyweight could potentially beat Usyk, but only with a perfect strategy. Without the right plan, one that mixes pressure, adaptability, and stamina, a fighter stands no chance. Usyk thrives on patterns. Once he reads them, he exploits them. So while the door may be slightly open for someone to dethrone him, Jones made it clear it won't happen by accident. Even celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay, a known sports enthusiast, chimed in about Usyk's dominance. Ramsay posed a question that is now echoing throughout the boxing world. Who is going to stop this guy? He pointed out Usyk has gone through the best of his generation, Joshua, Dubois, and others, sometimes more than once. Ramsay's remark reflects the feeling of inevitability that surrounds Usyk's fights today. Whoever steps up next isn't expected to win. They're just expected to survive. That's how far Usyk has separated himself from the rest of the division.